What is going on, college basketball fans? Today we're back with my updated Dannyology Power 35 rankings, and a lot of changes since my last rankings video, so I'm excited to get into it. I just want to say subscribe if you guys are new. We do a ton of college basketball content here on the channel, and yeah, guys, let's get into it. All right, the updated Dannyology Power 35 rankings, here they are, and I believe my top 5 teams are actually the same as my last rankings. But everywhere else, a ton of changes. A couple of teams that weren't ranked last time jumping in. A couple of teams that fell quite a bit as well. So start off, Purdue, still number one team in the country. They had they let Illinois sneak back into the game, but they were dominating most of that game. They look really good. I think undoubtedly everyone would have Purdue as their number one team in the country. Houston, still my number 2 team, staying undefeated. Destroyed my team, West Virginia, this past week by a lot. It was not ever even close since the opening tip-off. Houston looks really good, but they haven't really played anybody too great yet. And I'm waiting for them to get tested. We started conference play. They're playing in the Big 12. They're going to get tested. I'm excited to see it actually happen. But for now, even though I'm not sure if they are a better team than teams like Kansas or UConn, I definitely believe they are a top 10, top 5 level team. They're just untested still to this point. But shout out to them. They're the last Division I team in all of college basketball. There's 360-some teams in college basketball, Division I. They're the only undefeated team left. So shout out to Houston for that. Kansas coming in here at number 3. Caught a break there in Allen Fieldhouse. What else is new? But yeah, against TCU, should that have been called a flagrant? Should they have gotten free throws and the ball? I don't know about that call, but there was definitely an elbow. Was it incidental? Was it on purpose? Who knows? But it definitely did help Kansas secure that win. But either way, they did get the win. They still only have one loss on the season. They look pretty solid, and Kansas is still here at number 3. Number 4, we do have the UConn Huskies. And UConn, I'm not out on them at all. I think they might actually be my top contender as far as who I think is going to win the national championship this year. I think that UConn could be the first back-to-back champion since Florida. What was that? 2007 and 2008, I think. I think UConn could be the first back-to-back team since this Florida Gators team there with Billy Donovan when he was down there coaching. I definitely believe they have the makings to do it. They look really good. I'm very high on them. I'm very high on the Big East in general. And yeah, I still have UConn up here at number 4. Number 5, I do have Tennessee. And Tennessee, they stayed high for me. They were at 5 in my last rankings video. And they keep proving me right. They had a huge win against Ole Miss. Absolutely smacked them around. I thought that game would be a lot closer because I was actually one of the people that were actually kind of giving praise to Ole Miss for being undefeated. Yeah, they did play a cupcake schedule, but they did have a good win against teams like Memphis, and I thought Ole Miss was still a pretty good team, and I still think they are a decent team. As you can see, they're down there at 18, but yeah, Tennessee proved to me that they're on the next level for sure. They played a great game against Ole Miss, beat them up. Number 6, we do have Kentucky. They're jumping up, I think, 4 or 5 spots for me this week. Looking really good. Looking very solid. I'm very high on them. I like the way their freshmen are playing. I like Reed Shepherd, Rob Dillingham. 2 great players. If they can get DJ Wagner going, this is a legit title contender this year. 100%. They need to get DJ Wagner going. If he can reach his full potential, look out for the Wildcats. Number 7, another Wildcat team. We do have Arizona. They did drop for me from my last rankings because they lost to FAU, but then they got 2 really good wins against Colorado and also Utah, and they destroyed those teams, especially Colorado. They almost beat them by like 50 points. So Arizona, they definitely show what their potential can be. And Colorado and Utah, those are good teams that they're beating up on. And Arizona's shown to do that. They beat up on another good team like Wisconsin. But then if they can get a team that can score with them, sometimes they can struggle like against FAU. But I definitely believe that Arizona is 100% a top 10 team. I have them up here at number 7. They look very, very good, and they can continue to climb because, honestly, the way they destroyed Colorado and Utah, those are two of the next tier teams in the Pac-12, so it wouldn't surprise me if Arizona goes undefeated in the Pac-12. Somebody might catch them, but yeah, they're so far ahead of everybody else in the Pac-12 this year. North Carolina here at number 8. They have been solid. They got a couple of very good wins. Got a good win against Pitt and against Clemson. Looked very good. They're jumping into the top 10 this week. Also jumping into the top 10 this week, the Memphis Tigers, still on a roll. Survived SMU by a buzzer beater from JQ, Javon Quinterly. But they found a way to win. The atmosphere was great on that buzzer beater. I love to see it. And yeah, Memphis looking very good. They're jumping in the top 10 this week. Number 10, we do have Marquette. And they did take a loss to Seton Hall this week. And they wouldn't drop too far for me. But that is their second Big East loss already this season. And I still think they're a top 10 team. Of course, I have them here at number 10. But they had to drop some for me. And I feel like this is a good spot for them right now. I expect them to start turning things around, picking up some Big East wins now. We'll see. Number 11, we got the Oklahoma Sooners, still playing fantastically. Only losses to my number 18, North Carolina, and they got another solid win this week to open up Big 12 conference play against Iowa State. A very good Iowa State team, I will say, that was in my rankings last week. So that's a good win for Oklahoma. Number 12, we do have Illinois, and they're dropping out of my top 10 this week. They did take a loss to Purdue, but they were starting to creep back into that game. They only ended up losing by like 5 or 6 points. They were down by like over 20 in that game, starting to creep back. No Terrence Shannon Jr. I still feel like they're playing pretty good given the situation. A lot of people, because of that one loss to the consensus number 1 team, were dropping them very, very low. And I'm thinking they don't deserve that. Like, yes, they did lose Terrence Shannon Jr., but the way they've been playing, I don't think warrants dropping them out of the top 20. If you want to drop them out of the top 15, I would probably be fine with it. But I still got them at number 12, And unless they lose again and again, like if they lose again this next week coming, they'll probably drop out of the top 25 completely for me, and maybe still be in that 25 to 35 range, depending on how they look. But I'm going to give them another chance. I mean, the team they lost to was Purdue. And that's the consensus number 1 team. So I don't want to punish them too bad. They're still up here at number 12. Number 13, we do have the Duke Blue Devils. Look very solid. They're jumping up pretty high for me. I think last week they were around 23-24 for me. And they picked up a couple of good wins. And I'm very high on this Duke team. I think they have all the tools and the roster to be a solid team this year. So they're jumping up here to 13. Also, jumping up very, very high for me is San Diego State. They're probably my highest risers from last week. They were, I think, 30 to 35 last week. But they look fantastic. This is the defending runner-up from last year, and they look great. I feel like I was kind of holding them back because of their early season losses to like Grand Canyon, and I feel like the way they've been playing now, they're getting on a roll. They're shooting up. If they can keep it up, they're going to be in my top 10 next week. Like, come on. I think they play New Mexico this week. If they beat New Mexico, they're probably going to be in my top 10 if some teams ahead of them lose. Next up, we got Baylor. I definitely feel like teams like San Diego State, Duke are better than Baylor. So I feel like this is kind of my next tier on, and if that kind of makes sense. Baylor, very solid week. They won in overtime against Oklahoma State. I don't think Oklahoma State is that good. Definitely bottom tier in the Big 12. But they did survive, and they're up here at 15. And they're a team that got a win over Auburn this year in a close one. And Auburn's been playing great. They're jumping into my top 20 this week here at 16. Janai Broome, Aiden Holloway, big fan of those guys. They've been playing pretty good. They're here at 16. Number 17, we got Wisconsin. I feel like Wisconsin, they might end up being the second best team in the Big Ten behind Purdue. if Illinois continues to play great, though, even without Terrence Shannon Jr., I mean, they can hold on to it, but I feel like Wisconsin will probably pass them over time. They're playing great. They're up here at 17. Number 18, we got Ole Miss. They're dropping, I think, like 6 or 7 spots for me. I could see them dropping more, 100%, but I had them up at, like, I think 11 last week, and they only lost to Tennessee. It's still only their first loss of the season. I still feel like they should be a top 25 team. Let's see how they do, continuing more into SEC play. I want to see them against even the Auburn. That would be a great matchup. To see where these teams are at, Ole Miss versus Auburn, I need to see that matchup. But Chris Beard, he's got him some good guards on this team, a lot of size. I think right now they should still be a top 25 team. Same with BYU. They took a loss to Cincinnati this week, but I still think that they should be a top 25 team at this point. Yes, they are dropping for me, same as Ole Miss. But yeah, they're down here at number 19. Number 20, not ranked last week. So one of my biggest risers, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I mean, Pop Isaacs and Joe Toussaint, one of the funnest backcourts to watch in college basketball. I mean, if you're not watching the Red Raiders, what are you doing? I love this backcourt so much. A lot of it for me has to be because I was such a big Joe Toussaint guy when he was at WVU last year. Great player, plays the game the right way. Just a perfect glue guy. He was our 6th man last year, and he was electric coming off the bench. Now he's getting the starting role here with Pop Isaacs. Great fun backcourt. I really like this Texas Tech team. They're on a roll. I think they're 12-2 now after having 2 early losses. Big win streak. That's what gets you skyrocketing up on my rankings, is a big win streak, 100%. Number 21, I think also not ranked last week, but they were in my teams to watch last week, were the Dayton Flyers. I feel like I need to give them some respect, especially because a lot of teams in my Power 35 last week took a loss. So they're going to jump up here all the way to 21. Running away with the Atlantic 10 right now, looking very solid. Number 22, we do have Colorado State. They took a loss to Utah State this week, but they still have a very good win over Creighton, a very good win over Colorado in the non-con, which is keeping them in the top 25, and even keeping them against the team they lost to, keeping them over the team they lost to in Utah State, which is coming next at 23. We do have Utah State. I could see the argument for Utah State being ahead of Colorado State, but Colorado State, to me, Utah State, that's their first good win is against Colorado State, whereas Colorado State has 3 good wins against New Mexico, and as I just mentioned, Creighton and Colorado. I feel like Colorado State still might be the better team than Utah State right now. I'm going to have them 1 spot ahead, 22 and 23. 24, James Madison taking their first loss of the season. I actually tweeted on Twitter, James Madison is losing to Louisiana the day that they played Louisiana. Survived Louisiana. Then, the very next game, they go in and take their first loss of the season to Southern Miss. So, yeah, they did lose on that road trip. I called it 1 game early, but I still think James Madison should be a top 25 team. 1 loss on the year. Still have a good win over Michigan State. I know Michigan State just lost to Northwestern yesterday, but I'm going to have James Madison still up here at number 24. I feel like they should win the Sun Belt fairly easily this year, but crazy things happen in the Sun Belt tournament. I know that as a part, as a Marshall fan. I'm a WVU fan first, Marshall fan second. I know about the Sun Belt when it comes tourney time, and even though Marshall's pretty new to the Sun Belt, I still know about it. James Madison, top 24 right now, still. 25, we do have the Clemson Tigers, and Clemson, rough week for them. One of the roughest weeks, but they played 2 very good teams in North Carolina and Miami. So they took 2 losses, but to some very, very good teams, and I still have them here at 25. Before these 2 games, they looked amazing. Like, they were really high for me. I believe they were definitely top 15. So they're still dropping quite a bit for me, but I wanted to keep them in the top 25. because we'll see if they can turn it around. They're definitely going to have to get some wins over some top-tier ACC teams when they see them again. But I don't think that they should get faulted too hard because they've had an amazing season so far and they've looked great. Number 26, we do have the Creighton Blue Jays, another team who has had, some rough losses this season, but I feel like they're on that same tier as Clemson for me right now. So they're here at number 26. Number 27, we do have FAU, one of my biggest fallers from my last rankings. They not only lost to Florida Gulf Coast recently, but now they go and lose to the Charlotte as well, and they have already had losses against Bryant earlier in the season as well. Those are three really, really, really bad losses, but then they have good wins on the season, and you can't take those away from them either, including a win over my number 7 team in Arizona, and they have a fantastic team. They're going to have to pick it up from here 100%. They're going to see teams like Memphis in conference play. I think they're going to need a win over Memphis to really boost them back up. But yeah, right now they're falling out of my top 25 completely, and they're down here at number 27. Number 28, we do have Gonzaga, and Gonzaga is another team that has taken some losses recently. I feel like Gonzaga, FAU, Creighton, Clemson, they're all on the same tier as me. For me, as I feel like these teams are better than where they're ranked right now, but they've had some bad couple of weeks, and they're going to turn it around. So that's kind of where I'm at with those 4 teams. Number 29, we do have Grand Canyon University, and the Grand Canyon Lopes are playing fantastic this year. I really hope that they can come out of their conference and make it to the NCAA tournament because they look great. They have awesome guards, fun to watch. I need to see Grand Canyon in the tournament. Number 30, we do have Cincinnati. They only have 2 losses on the season, and they got a big win against BYU on the road this past week. Looking very solid. They're here at number 30. Number 31, we do have South Carolina. Their only loss on the season is still to Clemson, and they got a good win over Mississippi State this week, so they're here in my rankings this week here at 31. Number 32, we do have Miami. Miami's another team that I believe is way better than what they're ranked right now. They just got to get it turned around, and they did get a good win over Clemson, but then they went and lost to, who did they even lose to? They lost to Georgia Tech or someone like that. It wasn't good. A team they shouldn't have lost to. So I was going to have Miami higher, but then they fell back down. Nevada here at 33, another Mountain West team, very, very solid. How many Mountain West teams is that now? San Diego State, Colorado State, Utah State, Nevada. We got 4 Mountain West teams ranked right now in the Power 35. You love to see it. Number 34, we do have Northwestern. They just got a big win over Michigan State. Beat them up a little bit there and looked very solid. I know they took a loss to a really bad loss to Chicago State, but they're back in the Power 35, as we've seen with other teams that have lost to some pretty bad teams. You can bounce back from it. We should hold the same standard for Northwestern. They've been very, very solid this year. And 35 to round it out this week. Seton Hall, yes, they do have like 5 losses on the season, but they had a fantastic week. The best week. They are my week, whatever week this is, winners, because they got a solid win against Marquette and a solid win on the road against Providence in the same week. And they've already beat UConn this year as well in the Big East. They're rolling. They're rolling right now, and those are 3 very solid wins that could carry them all the way to March Madness. And why not? Let's put them in the Power 35. They had a fantastic week, and let's put them in there and see if they can continue to win and climb these rankings next week. So, teams to watch that just missed out. St. John's. You could argue St. John's should be in over Seton Hall, and I would not be mad at you at all. But I wanted to put Seton Hall in. They had a fantastic week. I want to put them in. Villanova. Villanova's another team. I think they just took a loss this past week. They fell on my rankings, but definitely a team to keep an eye out on. They've been very solid, especially against quad 1 opponents. New Mexico, they took a loss here to, who they lose to? They took a loss to Colorado State, but still a very solid team. If you want to put 5 Mountain West teams in the Power 35, if you want to include in New Mexico with the 4 teams I have in, would not be mad at you. The Mountain West very, very strong this year. Indiana State. Indiana State is a team that I'm looking out for. Drake has actually not been looking too good as of late, and I think Indiana State is running away with the Missouri Valley Conference right now. Keep an eye out on the Sycamores. NC State. NC State's a team that I don't see many people talking about, but they have a solid backcourt. They got DJ Burns down there. They're playing pretty good. They just haven't played anybody too great as of late. And the great teams they have played, like Tennessee, they've taken a loss to. But they only have 2 losses on the season. So I'm keeping my eye out on the Wolfpack as we get into conference play here, see if they can pick up some solid wins in the ACC. Kansas State. Kansas State is a team that I believe on paper is a top 35 team. And they have good wins against like Villanova this year. But we have to see what they look like when they get in a Big 12 play. If they can pick up a couple wins here this week, they'll definitely be in my rankings here next week. Princeton. Princeton only has 1 loss on the season. They're very, very solid. They made it to the Sweet 16 last year. They're really good. George Mason. George Mason is another team that has caught my eye this past week. They're 12-2 on the season, looking pretty solid. And yeah, I'm gonna keep my eye out on them. If they can keep winning, they can make it in Dannyology 35. So that is going to wrap it up for this week's rankings. Let me know what you guys think about them down below in the comment section. Which teams do you think should be higher? Which teams do you guys think should be lower? Which team got snubbed from my list? And yeah, guys, subscribe for more college basketball content. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.